Survivors and relatives of victims of last weekend's violent confrontation with security forces call for justice. And tonight, we'll be taking stock of the status of reproductive health rights and why it holds the key to Africa's future. Of course, once again, as I've already mentioned in the last bit of that highlight, issues to do with reproductive health is going to form the basis of our discussion tonight, and we have our guest already in studio with us. We have Lillian Mushoki, who is a women's rights advocate. We have Frances Mukuku. I hope I got her name right this time around. She is a sexual health rights advocate from DRC. We also have Dr. Justice Ngatia, who is an obstetrician and a gynecologist, as well as Albert Obu, who is the Executive Director, Center for the Study of Adolescents. I'm going to engage them shortly and discuss that topic of a discussion tonight, which has everything to do with reproductive health. But for now, let's go straight to a top story tonight on Bottomline Africa. And we start from Ethiopia, where an Ethiopian diplomat who was part of the government delegation to the United Nations General Assembly in New York last month has sought political asylum in the United States. Now, Baye Tadesse Teferi, the state's chief protocol officer, quit his job in the United States after serving over 2 years with the government. He says his decision was due to fears of being persecuted for political reasons. Teferi attended the summit with the Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn, who has since returned to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is regarded as one of Africa's fastest growing economies, yet many citizens have faced repression by security forces and the government. In the past 2 years alone, protests were held in the Oromia and Amhara regions, where tens of thousands of people flooded the streets, denouncing marginalization by the government. The Ethiopian government reacted with force to the protest, leading to the death of about 1,000 people. Arrest, a state of emergency, internet shutdowns, among other measures to stop the protest. Well, now thousands of people protested in Togo Wednesday in the next phase of a campaign to force out President Faure Gnassingbé, whose dynasty has ruled in West African state for more than 50 years. Marchers converged along 3 routes in the capital Lome to a seafront site where they were addressed by opposition leaders. Mobile access to the internet was cut, as was the case in mass protest against Gnassingbé in August and September that drew tens of thousands of people. The government, responding to unprecedented protest from the street, is proposing an overhaul of the constitution under which presidential terms will be limited to 5-year spells in office.
What our people want, our president does not want. Before yesterday, they cut the power. Why? And then in the big hospital, MRI scanners don't work. Before, what we were looking for was reforms. And then Gnassingbé refused. Now he just has to leave power. That is the whole problem. He just has to leave.
We can never say no to dialogue, and we do not understand that all this time we have been protesting, the president of this country has not called us, made no attempt to tell us that he sees what is happening, or that he has heard our message that we send him.
Now, away from Togo, and controversy is brewing in Cameroon over the number of casualties recorded during the recent unrest in the country's Anglophone region. Hospital sources say at least 15 people were killed at a time when the opposition has reported about 30 following the independence proclamation protest. Now, the United Nations has officially spoken on the ongoing political crisis in Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned the violence and called for a cessation of hostilities in order for dialogue to be pursued. The statement from his office called on quote-unquote political leaders on both sides to appeal to their followers to refrain from any further acts of violence and to unequivocally condemn all actions that undermine the peace there, stability and unity of the country.
Small passage there for corner here. Immediately as he entered that passage, bullet just come out from nowhere. I don't know how managed. It can't boss you, pass for this side. The Pekin, it thought for a friend, they be them plenty for that. It thought for it, go meet other friend them. It thought say they don't shoot me. Oh. So a friend, where they call it, whether Peter Mboa, it can bend down, say one Jakey. For 3 run, he comes so. The shoot another one. It can't boss that friend, or it can't touch a friend in own belly. The friend too, before he wake up, he start run. That way my Pekin, it also, he want struggle for run. They shoot another one for your back foot. That Pekin sleep for down. I can't meet up him for that so. I want to blood come off for my Pekin like that way they open them. Papa, I don't know what to wear fit talk. I never see the shoot people now for film. I don't know say if person want they want make them peace, they will begin kill people and kill them. I know my own say if you have some money when I get problem, they want maintain peace. They will go on a two, on a she don't, on a decide. They see the person way wrong. They thought so you don't do this to be wrong. I don't know say if you will not get problem, you will send the people and say any man may they begin shoot. Then they shoot, and they even look the direction where they shoot gun. And the kid is to not say what. No, but picking say where go for go demonstrate the other one them inside Cartier.
They were inside house, we don't lock our door. It won't be around 1 o'clock. We hear movement for outside. As people they run the camp, they stand knock our doors. As they knock our doors and they no answer. As they no answer, they march the door. Once the police people they enter inside. So we say more, they carry what, draw me now with my head, knock me for down with aside. They knock me for down with aside. They carry the foot put on top of my head. Mash am go over inside. We go move my gap kin. Whip it for food, give one for food. Whip it for hands them. We carry them inside my car.
On Sunday, actually, we had an influx of about 8 cases that came here, but 3 of them came when they were already dead from Kiliwindi. And so they were taken to the mortuary.
Clearly, the pictures and the voices there from Cameroon depicts the current situation on the ground, which is a tension-full country, especially between those areas covered by Anglophone and Francophone. Now, let's cross over to South Sudan, where the United Nations and its partners have increased security patrols in and around the protection of civilian sites in South Sudan's capital, Juba, home to over 30,000 civilians, to fight crime amid political uncertainty in the country. Now, tens of thousands have sought shelter and protection in UN bases around the country after South Sudan slipped into civil war in 2013, just 2 years after becoming independent from Khartoum. The United Nations is moving in to protect civilians there after years of criticism. A 200-meter wide weapons-free zone has been set up around the protection of civilian sites and a UN house in Juba to keep criminals and weapons out of the camp. There are fears that gangs are operating in the area following reports that women traveling outside the camp were being harassed and intimidated.
It's basically young men who come here. And understandably so, if you can imagine young people sitting idling, doing nothing, they would try to find something to do. So you have these young men who form gangs, and they would come here and sit down here. Of course, they use their valley to wash themselves and wash their clothes as well.
From South Sudan, let's now cross over to South Africa, where police in South Africa say they have arrested 4 people in the Marikana informal settlement of Philippi, Cape Town, following the murder of 11 people during the weekend. Now, the arrest took place during an oversight police operation in the area. The South African Minister of Police visited and held discussions with the community in Philippi following the incident. A crisis meeting was held inside the police station after about 300 angry residents stormed the station. Separately, gunmen shot dead 7 women from the same family in a village in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province earlier yesterday.
No longer put a blind eye to the fact that there are criminals within the police and they are undermining law and order in the Republic of South Africa.
Nobody can get those boys until the soldiers and the police come and set the guns here, because they are being supplied by some of the police here in this police station. And the word that is being spread and emphasized by the community is that they don't want the police who are working in this police station. A minister must please change these workers. The gangsters are like, you know, they are actually ruling now. People are becoming like victims every day.
Police are so scared to come to the community of Marikana because the area is so dark and they are scared and fearful of coming inside. So that's why the people are saying that we don't have a trust to the police because they don't have the capacity to come to Marikana even when they are called.
Well, and that report from South Africa takes us to a very short break right here on Bottomline Africa. But when we do come back, we'll have that discussion of earlier promised to, which has everything to do with reproductive health rights and why it holds the key to Africa's future. I'm sure you don't want to miss that. Our guest on standby with us. We'll be right back. Don't go too far.